Good morning, everybody. I'm Dana B with Charlie M and Kent G for the Mountain Patriots Educational Ministries podcast. Today is April 4th, 2025, in the year of our Lord. We want to thank everybody for joining us and gets the opportunity to see our podcast today. We have a lot of things that are actually happening today, and we're going to talk a little bit about the elections. We're going to talk about DOGE, our little update on DOGE. And then we're going to talk about some emergency preparedness that we have that people are going to need. We actually had a meeting last week with the Mountain Patriots about the Frederick County Emergency Management. And since we try to work with the community, we'll cover some of that this morning with Kent. So before I get started, I just wanted to let everybody remind everybody that the Mountain Patriots Educational Ministry started about 3 years ago. We have 7 different ministries. Take a look at us online at wakeupwinchester.com. We do everything from community service to helping with food banks to emergency management to prepping and elections. And we try to get everything out there. And as a matter of fact, in June, since a lot of people aren't aware of how the system works that we're in nowadays, we're actually doing our 8th Wake Up Winchester Health and Freedom Conference, which is coming up on June 28th at 251 Costello Drive at the Millwood Fire Department, the fire hall out here in Winchester. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn everything over to our my good friend and our co-host Charlie, and he's going to tell you a little bit about us and get a little bit into the prayer, because we are an educational ministry. And I'm Charlie. I'm going to turn it over to you and thank you guys, as always, for the three of us being able to share this time together. So, Charlie, good morning.
Good morning. Let's just start off with the prayer. It's a good thing to start every day with anyway.
Amen.
Dear Lord, thank you for this opportunity to share what we know, what we think we know, and what others know, to help transparency flood this country so that the evil things that are going on become more visible and the population of we the people can do something about it. Keep us motivated, strong, and healthy, and doing your work. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 And as in that regard, or in general regard for the country, elections are a rather big deal. And we talk about all these issues on the national level, but truth, in fact, it all comes down to the local level. You know, all politics is local, even the national politics. So we try and connect the dots. We try and look at the larger picture and come with as much knowledge as we can find, just to make sure that you understand this. What we give you are our opinions.
Absolutely. That's exactly right.
Opinion team here, and you really need to spend the time and effort yourself to look it up. And we were just talking a few minutes ago about Grok on X as a extremely fast and effective tool to do that research, to find out if in fact there are many sources to the same information that you're getting, because we need to be careful that we don't just have one source that we rely on. So with that said, one of the things that has happened this week that is important is there was an election in Florida and an election in Wisconsin. But just to cover the Florida election, Dana, you want to give us a little bit on that?
Well, yeah, Charlie. It's kind of funny how things work out. There was a special election for Congress in Florida, and there's a couple things that came out while I was doing research. And so most people know the Mountain Patriots do a lot of research, and then we research, and then we research what we researched, and then we double check what we researched. And as I'm going through, there's so much that people have to realize. Our lives depend on who we actually put into office. And there's a couple things that did happen. Um, First of all, there was I just want to bring this up real quick. There were two folks that were are being arrested or or being charged. One of them is Philip Moss. He's 84 years old. Guy is a congressman who actually voted in two different places. I mean, come on, these are our elected officials, and if they can't stick to the law, I mean, it's just kind of mind blowing. There's a 38-year-old woman by the name of Jennifer Hill who, to impress her boss, decided to go out and register everybody that she could from dead people on. And there's a warrant for her as well. And that covered the 2024 election. So it's really important that people actually pay attention to what's going on. And most of us don't use the regular news anymore. We do a lot, like Charlie was saying, with Grok. But even Grok sometimes, Charlie, won't give you stuff that you want to know. Okay. I was asking questions the other day, but real quick in Florida, Jimmy Petronas and Randy Fine both won their races. And I was listening to Byron Donald down there from Congress, and the uh, the people are awake, and the Democrats are very, very motivated because they're scared to death of Elon, which we're going to cover in a few minutes. They're not happy with the fact that Elon is actually flipping things over and finding out where your money is spent. Okay. I'm just going to do an analogy. When I had an ex-wife, and if anybody's ever been through this, you got to look at your checkbook because they're spending money that you don't have. And the next thing you know, you find out that you're stuck with all kind of bills. Well, then you have to go out there and work even harder to make that up. Well, the same thing is happening right here in our country. So if you have a kid that's ever stolen your checkbook or run a business before where they taken something from you, you know what I'm talking about. So these folks weren't happy with what Elon's doing. But the people in Florida spoke. Jimmy Petronas won almost 57% of the vote, and Randy Fine won 42% of the vote. But they had 72,000 people came out and voted for Randy Fine, 97,000 people for Jimmy Petronas. And I apologize. 110,000 for Randy Fine, 83,000 people. And this isn't your regular election. That shows that people are really awake. So we had a double-digit election that was down there. And what we did find out is the Florida GOP, because of all of this, is under attack. And what do I mean by under attack? They're passing bills, and this is the GOP. Okay, this is the Republican Party, Kent. Republican Party, Charlie. Everybody listening, this is important. This is why you want to watch your registrars and everything's happening. Tallahassee, Florida is changing their legislation. Why would they do that? Well, how many people have seen Trump's picture out there, and there is the picture of a candidate next to next to Trump with an R next to their name? Well, people will look at that and go, "Oh, I'm going to go vote for that person because they have a picture of Trump on that flyer with them." That's a ploy. Okay, that's branding. Don't always go by the branding. Go do your own research. So what the elites did in Florida is they put together a program to help people choose their representative candidates by putting the R next to Trump, because people don't think like we do. Now, what they also did, Kent, and what they also did, Charlie, is they put up what's called Bill 1249, which shuts down the grassroots choice, the bottoms up grassroots choice that we have to choose the candidate that we want. So they're actually going to choose the candidate that they put on the flyer. And then you get to choose from that. So you know how that works. People can be bought very quickly. And then Bill 1381 shuts the elected advocate groups out of being able to audit anything in the elections. So we're being steered in a certain direction. That's just in Florida. So we're being steered in a certain direction that the government or people with a lot of money want us to go. So we really don't have a choice. So it is up to you, America. It is up to you, Frederick County. It is up to you, Virginia, to pay attention, especially with the votes that we have coming in this year. So pay attention to what's going
Right.
on.
And And that points to another thing. Um, Primaries are really important, and you have to be able to uh, become exposed in the primary so people can make the right choice.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of an obvious thing, but um, I think the unobvious thing now becoming obvious is that now that President Trump has been elected, all this other crap continues. That all has not stopped. There's the whole system out there that is trying to cheat, are cheating, are doing nefarious things that are perhaps even more motivated because Trump won the election.
They're losing,
So
Charlie, and that takes you right into Wisconsin. It's all about
exactly,
the mission. It's all about the mission for them.
exactly. And Wisconsin, that's the judge that was elected to the Wisconsin Supreme Court,
Right.
and um, and by a wide margin. And during that in that process, the people who were counting the ballots would not allow any observers to come in to observe the early voting ballots. They were all kept out. Why is that? Only one reason. That's to cheat. There is no other reason. So what's interesting to me is there was another issue on the ballot in Wisconsin, the same ballot,
Right.
and that was to require ID when voting, voter ID,
Right.
and it won by 154,000 votes, a huge margin. And stop and think about it. Why would the voters vote so far left with that judge and so far right with voter ID? Um, didn't happen, in my humble opinion. Again, we're doing opinions. And in my opinion, the votes were cheated to give to the judge, and they didn't bother to cheat on the voter ID. So you get this big disparity between those two issues in Wisconsin that should at least raise some questions as to the validity of that Wisconsin election of the judge, which is going to radicalize and rewrite the districting in Wisconsin for years to come. So uh, votes matter.
Charlie, you just brought up something really important because that's Susan Crawford, Judge Susan Crawford. She was the former attorney. She went against the former Attorney General Brad Schimmel and Elon. They were all out there talking about this. This is one of the most expensive races, and this is just a Supreme Court. This is a Supreme Court um, nomination. They spent over 100 million. Now, why would somebody? They're buying everything from us. They have the money. This is why, again, why DOGE is so important to find out where this all of this money is going. And you're right, they are radicalizing things. And then when you get these judges in here, like they do in Wisconsin, you look at somebody like Boasberg. Okay, that's another thing that we're looking at right now, where they're trying to take the judicial the power away from the executive branch of
When in
the
fact,
presidency. Go for it. Talk about that.
when in fact the president should be taking away, or the Congress should be taking away the power of the judges, to the extent that a district judge, um, now like Boasberg, who said, "Turn that plane around, bring those criminals back." That's Boasberg, right?
That's Boasberg and Charlie. On top of that, to make it worse, it's all against the executive branch, but this is one of the same guys that was in the FISA court for Russia, Russia, Russia. So you can see where all this plays.
Yeah, but the point I want to make is uh, there's a power that's been allowed to be exercised in the district court
Right.
that isn't there, that doesn't belong there. And that is, and they're trying to rectify this. The Republicans in Congress now are trying to write a bill that says a district judge has the authority, has the standing to make these determinations in his district, not across the entire nation. And that's
Right.
what they make. One judge makes a determination and says, stop doing this or do that, rehire those people, or whatever it is that really should be limited to his jurisdiction, not for the whole country. And that's where judges are becoming rogue and drunk with their power to be able to challenge the president and stop him from doing his agenda. And that's the tactic right now of the left, to find all these judges to do all these uh, findings to stop Trump. And
And
that's
it's
and the district courts, in fact, all the courts underneath the Supreme Court were created by Congress.
right. Right.
Congress used
And
to do this.
people don't realize, Charlie, that there are three branches for a reason. There are three co-equal branches, and they all have. If I asked how many people are watching this can name the three branches of government, you need to come out to our Wake Up Winchester conference. There's the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. And the judicial branch does not have authority to turn around what President Trump is actually doing. Am I
Yeah,
correct,
and
Charlie?
it's the three are not Huey, Louie, and Dewey.
No. They're Dewey, Cheatham, and Hal.
Right, right. Okay. You want
Well,
to tell us something about Dan Best?
absolutely. Folks, we want to let people know that here in Frederick County, we have a fantastic party of really good conservatives, and we get a fantastic newsletter by a gentleman by the name of Dan Best. He does with the Republican Outreach. So what I'll do is at the end of this video is I'll make sure that we put up the link for the Republican Outreach so you can get everything that's going on right here in Frederick County, where all the different meetings are, where fundraisers are, where meet and greets are, where you can find out what's happening in our locality. So I want a big call out, a big shout out to Dan Best, who's done a phenomenal job of getting information out here to all of us conservatives and Christian conservatives and Republicans all over the county. So
Wake Up
again,
Winchester can help you find access to Dan Best if you need to.
we will make sure that we put that link up here. But staying on top of the mission, we and I'm going to kind of go to Kent with this, Charlie, because he's done a lot of research on this. Kent, we've been talking about the elections and so forth, and we talked a couple weeks ago about I'm gonna just say it, the left losing their mind over DOGE. I think there's over $270 billion that's been found. They're finding $1 billion a day of our wasted money. And people are getting death threats. They're finding a lot more every day. They're freaking out. What have you seen going on lately with DOGE, with what's happening right now and here that breaks down not only to a national level, but what we're seeing here?
All right. Well, good morning, guys. Good to see you,
Yeah, man.
and happy Friday. Most importantly, for me, every day's a Friday. Excuse me. But yeah, if you look on the Department of Government Efficiency webpage, the people voted for major reform. You could see how much the estimated savings, and I believe this is real time. We're still at 140 billion. That's billion with a B, estimated savings. So you're looking at, break it down per taxpayer, $869.59. That's being saved to us. Hopefully, in turn, we will get some sort of recomp from all this stuff, because there's a lot of our money is being pushed aside. So, is it surprising that somebody's getting death threats? No. It just seems really odd to me that the man who's in charge of uncovering all this stuff is public enemy number one. And note, and I've seen this scrolling through lots of media before in the past, is that all this stuff that one man and his team have been uncovering, no one is accusing him of lying.
Right,
and
right.
so it'd be different if he was, drafting up stuff that was fraudulent. That would be obviously, in a different boat there. But he's not. So all this stuff that's being uncovered is being true. Why are they threatening him? And I think, and I'm going to paraphrase what Tucker Carlson had said. I'll try to remember this, but he said he's not. It's in the form of that. He's changing the stuff that they can't control anymore. That's what's really it's upset the apple cart, is that that their system of whatever they've had for all this time is not working for them anymore. Hence the death threats. Hence why they're trying to destroy they're trying to just melt down his car company by spraying paint all over. For me, it's just a childish behavior. You're never going to get your way. It's like a bunch of kids that are out of control. Look what happened in 2020 with cities of Seattle, Portland, Minneapolis, Kenosha.
Right. Chop, Chaz.
What are you doing? You are ruining stuff that's been built and ruining stuff that's for you to purchase. It's the same thing. These people are just having meltdowns because they're not having it their way. I think they need a lot of help. You're not hurting Elon if you've already bought the car, right? You've already paid for the car, and now people are going around with keys and they're keying other people's vehicles. They fail to realize that Teslas have about 17 cameras on them. So you're getting caught in the commission of the act. People are being prosecuted, right, because they're using it as evidence. They're prosecuting these people, which they should. And I believe that as of now, I think it's a 20-year sentence.
It is a 20-year sentence
for setting fire to a car company, which is, I chuckle about it, but it's totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
That should be the set stone for anything. If you destroy anybody's business by setting on fire, it should be a 20-year prison sentence. But you try to rationalize with it, and you can't, because it doesn't make any sense. And why are they painting swastikas on a car that was built in the United States? I don't get it.
Hey, Ken, you just brought up something that tripped my brain. I watched something the other night where the mother is walking and she's teaching the kids. When we talk about the education system of what we're teaching our kids, you're teaching your child how to do that, number one. Okay. And then, these are the same people that bought these cars and yelled at us about having green new scam energy, that yelled at us for being gas guzzlers and everything else. And now they're setting their own stuff on fire. It's kind of like the person that says, I'm going to shoot myself and you're next. I mean, it makes absolutely no rational sense. The mentality and it's a shame. And I think, with our ministry, there's a lot of people, we're not picking on people. We're just pointing out what we see. But there's a lot of people that are going to need a lot of help, But we're talking about
it's years of brainwashing.
And millions of dollars.
That and years of brainwashing. I reposted something on the Mountain Patriots Facebook yesterday. Got a couple of likes on it. Gosh, man, I can't remember that one guy who didn't go to college, but he's really smart. I think it's Charlie Kirk. He's been on, I think that's his name.
Charlie Kirk is absolutely incredible.
Smart guy.
Don't ever get in a debate with Charlie Kirk.
No, he's a typical guy. He's very modest. He didn't go to college, but he's a smart guy. Just because you go to college doesn't mean you're the smartest person. He debates these college kids, and you can see the brainwashing in these young adults. And one guy had said, my father says you're a white supremacist.
I saw that.
And Charlie goes, well, what evidence do you have on it? Well, I don't have any evidence. Okay, but you're calling him a white supremacist. What it is, it's an easy argument out of something if you have no rational basis to debate anybody. So you go back to the default. You just accuse somebody of being a racist. And it's brainwashing. And where did the kid learn that from? Well, he said he learned it from his father. Well, maybe his father needs to do some more research on who Charlie is and what Charlie's doing.
They don't do research. They don't do research,
do it.
Kent.
Well, it's too hard, right? They don't want to do it because it's just too hard. So yeah,
Where it comes from also, because you're right, it does come from the parents. And where did the parents get that? Is early in grade school, children are taught activism, and they're taught activism all the way through school. You can be sure that they're, again, an opinion, that they were taught activism but not consequences.
There
yeah,
are
And
no there are no consequences for these actions, but you know
unless we
what's
give
up
them consequences, right?
yeah,
right, and now it's starting to happen. You know, when I was a kid, if I did something wrong, I got spanked. I
right,
lost my allowance. You know, I
right.
wasn't allowed to go out on a Saturday night with my friends. I couldn't drive my car. You know, and what's sad is all of this money that that's been stolen from us is being used to pay these people to, and they've gotten them out of jail. They've gotten, I mean, look at how many people they've gotten out of jail. You know what I found also funny, because Kent brought up Charlie Kirk. Jasmine Crockett brought out the other day that she actually got a job, because not because she was qualified, because she was black. She says, I used, basically, she comes right out and kind of says, because I used this DEI to be able to get a job. And that's not where this isn't where we need to be. And
Right.
we're on a really good track, grassroots, to be able to do it. But folks, you got to do your research. You have to. So what else you got on this, Kent? I know you're the DOGE guy.
Well, I think that's pretty much about it. I think it's effectively working,
It is.
and I think it's effectively pushing
Oh, well,
forward.
let me
I know
let me
Elon
add
only
to,
has 130 days on this. Go ahead, Charlie.
yeah. One of the things that I also did on the DOGE site, I like to copy it all on a DOGE on a website and put it into a Word document, and then fix it up and so that I can use it as reference material myself. And so I did that with the DOGE. They just go down and give you this example, this example, this example, all the way down the page.
Mm-hmm.
So copy, all, paste. I came up with 90 pages,
Wow.
all of what
Wow.
DOGE is saying, what they did. And I was impressed by what DOGE says, and I'm not sure, I'm not quoting something specific, but DOGE says we canceled the contract of $150 million
Mm-hmm.
and a savings of $80 million. They're being accurate. They're saying the contract capacity was 150, but that hasn't been spent yet. But the 70 million has. So we only gain 80 million. I mean, they're going into it when they claim they've saved money, they're not claiming money that's already been spent.
Right.
So I think that's a kudo on their part for being accurate.
You know, Charlie, you just brought up something that made me think about it. Going back just for a quick second to the elections, you know, we've got the Supreme Court thing that's going on, or the Supreme Court in Wisconsin and so forth. You know, Doge is also Elon basically came out the other day and said, you know, the federal government tried to wipe off all kinds of information, but they don't realize that we're going to find it. But they're doing the same thing with elections. They're going to do the same thing with elections. So all of these people are going to cheat. Pam Bondi, our new DOJ, you got Kash Patel, the FBI with Dan Bongino right now, and they're going to go in and they're going to find where all these people cheated. So you're actually walking into the candy store and the cop is behind you while your hand is actually in the saying, my hand is not in the candy jar. I'm not stealing anything as you're putting it in your pocket. I mean,
Yeah, and along that line, what happened in many states, but particularly Pennsylvania, is that there were more votes than there were people in the county.
exactly.
I mean, when you look behind the curtain and see the detail, those things become apparent,
The
thankfully.
black curtain, you know, you couldn't go behind the black curtains and you paper up everything. If you don't have anything to hide, don't, it's pretty simple,
Be
you know,
transparent.
it's just being transparent, you know. Well,
So,
we're in the middle of a mission. You got anything else, Charlie and Kent, on DOGE and elections? Because
No.
I want to hear a
I
little bit
don't.
about what Kent's got. We to kind of switch.
Before we do that, I want
Yeah.
to give a plug to a small business,
Oh, absolutely.
and it happens to be my son. So
Excellent.
so I'm biased, but my son Michael lives in Loudoun County, and he does epoxy floors, and his small business is called KGM Epoxy, and that's his website, kgmepoxy.com. You can go there and see all of the colorful floors that he's done. He can do the flake, he can do metallic flake, he can do artistic swirls, all sorts of stuff that are an epoxy floor. And so I just ask you to, if you're thinking about that, go to kgmepoxy.com and check them out.
Excellent, Charlie. That's really important. That's one of the missions that Mountain Patriots Educational Ministries has. We want to make sure that we're dealing with people and working with people that are patriots and Americans right here in especially Virginia, Frederick County, Loudoun County, Warren County, Clark County, all the areas around us. There's quite a few businesses, and we want to make sure that people are going to the best of the best right here in our area. Let's keep the money right here in our area. So that's kgmepoxy.com, correct, Charlie?
Correct.
Excellent. So we want to give kudos to those folks. Also, kind of switching gears a little bit. Last Monday night, we do a meeting every Monday, Mountain Patriots Educational Ministries. There's usually 25, 30, 40, sometimes 50 people. We've gotten a chance to interview everyone from Amanda Chase to Bill Wiley to a lot of our local politicians that are running for office, as well as for governor, lieutenant governor, and we'll have a lot of those folks on here.
School board,
And
board of supervisors.
board of supervisors, we want people to be able to learn. So look us up and contact us, and we'll get you, instead of a 5-minute stump speech, you actually get a chance to meet people and get to know what's going on. One of our ministries is to make sure that we're keeping people safe. And I feel a lot safer than I did before. But when you back a rabid dog into a corner, there's a lot of times they're going to come out and they're going to try to attack. So as we are starting to push a lot of these criminals, for lack of better terms, into a corner, there's an opportunity for them. They're going to get ticked off and they're going to attack. That's just how people are for survival. So one of the things that we do with Mountain Patriots is we stay prepared. Last week we had the privilege of having the Frederick County Emergency Management deputy come out with our Board of Supervisors, John Jewell, and he was with Amy Fuller, the deputy, who gave us an hour presentation last week on how to be prepared. And the Mountain Patriots are pretty prepared with a radio network and supplies and so forth. We're building trailers. We have people that are doing that. But she did a great presentation last week, and we all want to practice this. So we're ready to be able to not just help ourselves and our family, but to be able to help other members of the community. And they did a great job. So Kent last week, he's been phenomenal in trying to help us out with all of this stuff. And he did a week-long trip to be able to practice a lot of this stuff. And we asked him to come on and talk to us about the highlights of his trip, the scope of being prepared for things. It ties in with the emergency management, and we're going to do a full future podcast just on Kent on how to be prepared. So I'd like to have Kent talk to us a little bit about the highlights of your trip to Core Island last week.
Well, thanks, Dan. And I'm fighting some allergies here, so hopefully I won't cough myself to death in this microphone. But one of the things that I enjoy doing, and I have been for many, many years, is to get out and venture and get different insights to different parts of the country, different areas to go to. And for me, it's quite entertaining. It's also quite it's relaxing, and my family enjoys doing it too. And just to kind of get out, if you live on the grid and if you want to go off the grid, it's a great way of practicing. And if you want to get into that realm of doing things, we kind of live remotely up here on the mountaintop, and so we like to go out and see other things and just experience it at the bare bones basic. I also got friends that are into this as well as family members. So one of the things is that I started to put together an outline, and I talked to you guys about it on Monday, but I'm actually working on a PowerPoint and with photos. And I promise sometime in the future we could put this on the podcast. So if anybody else wants to either go do this trip that myself has done, or you're planning to go out west or out south or up north, these are some ideas that could help make you more successful being off the grid. So in 2018, we started this thing called Outer Banks Camping, Outer Banks, North Carolina. And the rule is that I made up the rule that we had to hit one national park campsite, starting from the north at Oregon Inlet, and then working our way south to try to get all the way to South Core Banks, North Carolina. Roughly, it's if you haven't been out to the Outer Banks, it's roughly a 200 plus mile coastline of nothing but beaches, and it's one of the only places I believe that you can actually drive your vehicle that far. Of course, now you need a permit for everything, but once you obtain your permit, you can go out and drive on the beach. In certain areas, you can actually camp on the beach, and we were lucky enough to do that at South Core Island. And one of the things I brought up is that before I go out on any type of journey like this, is I always check the weather. I'm a big weather junkie, even here at home. Forecast the weather to see what you're getting into. If it's high winds, you definitely don't want to be caught out on a beach because it's very flat. There's no structure. Just a little bit of structure with grass plants and even dunes will help break the wind.
That sand stings in the wind.
Yeah, and when that wind gets up above 40 miles an hour, it gets pretty scary. And then thinking of alternatives on where you're going to go. Beyond your primary site, there has to be a secondary, which we actually had to use a secondary site.
So
on our first night because it was so windy.
So you were dealing first off with weather, wind, and water all at the same time. So you were prepared for that going down.
Wind, a little bit of light rain. We were expecting heavier rain, but we didn't get any. And then the tides. So tides are very important if you're camping on the beach. You don't want to be irresponsible and camp in a wet area. That's kind of an indicator to know that the tides are going to be moving in. And you could wake up underwater. People have done it before. People actually got their vehicles stuck out there. That was one of the first things that the Rangers had told us when we got on the beach. Have you been here before? No, it's my first time. Okay, well, don't go out to Shark Island in low tide, and then high tide comes in. They actually had to pull 2 people out while we were there. It's an $800 tow charge just to try to get another vehicle out there to tow you out. Sometimes they just leave your vehicle and you have to write it as a loss and call your insurance company. That probably wouldn't be too good.
Fantastic.
So weather's priority. I'll go in a section later next week on food. What kind of food do we bring? Food is also going to indicate on what kind of weather you're going to bring. I don't want to bring food where I have to prepare and fight the wind and I get sand in my skillet or in my sandwiches. You don't want to be eating a mouthful of sand. So figure out the kind of food that you're going to bring, right? We want to bring something that's pre-made and something that's easy. And for me, when I go out on these trips, I don't eat a whole lot. For some odd reason, I bring more food than I will actually consume and wind up taking a lot of it back home. So I'll talk about that in the future podcasts. The primary also is water. I have a Scepter can, and I'll show those pictures later. 5-gallon drinking water for Scepter cans, and then I bring a spare can and fill up potable water when I'm at the island just for washing my hands or doing dishes. And then the last of the big 3, so we got food, water, and the last will be shelter. What kind of shelter are you going to be bringing? Some people camp in their vehicle. I don't find that too comfortable. Even in the wintertime, actually being inside of a metal can can be freezing. It can actually be worse. But I use high quality canvas type structures. I have an Australian swag, which is a one-man, basically it's like a canvas cocoon, and I put that onto a cot. And then I actually put that within a tent. So I actually have a structure within a tent. And it's nice to get up in the middle of the night to use the facility, quote unquote. And you're not, standing up in blowing wind or sand and water. You actually have another structure. But these are things that you got to think about in order to have an enjoyable trip. There's been people that have gone out there who haven't prepared, and you're on your own. I think the warning letter that we got from the Rangers, if you need to dial 911, there's spotty cell service on the island. Expect up to 4 hours before somebody can come out and get you. So you're pretty much on your own. There's been people that have gone out there for fishing trips and gotten stranded. Their vehicles weren't in tip-top shape, and so some people have lost their four-wheel drive. You definitely need four-wheel drive on the beach. The sand will change its consistency from a hard impact type sand to a very soft, powdery sand that you will sink your vehicle in very quickly. So these are things that you got to consider. Fuel. I brought extra fuel. I brought an extra 5-gallon jerry can full of fuel. And I think I was telling you last week, Dana, from the point of entry where the ferry dropped us off to where our campsite was 13 miles. On beach sand, my FJ Cruiser loves to drink gasoline, and I consumed almost a quarter tank of gas just even getting down there. And that's just because the vehicle's got to work that much harder to get down there. So these are things that you got to be considered. You got to consider these things. You got to know your vehicle. Communications is also a big thing. I always say carry 2 forms of communication. At least have a cell phone on you. Cell phones have, especially the towers and signals, they've been getting a lot better over the years as far as connectivity and communications. But we definitely had GMRS with us, and we used our GMRS radios. There are a few, I think there was 2 dedicated towers on near the island. One was back on the mainland. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but that's something that you got to consider. And I had pre-programmed those towers into my radio. My buddy Chuck, who went with me, he has a GMRS license, so we were both running those radios, and we were in FRS channel.
Radio?
Yep. Just so we didn't have to say our identifier every 10 minutes, and it was only half a watt of power. We were very close, right? We were just basically convoying on the way down. But comms is important. First aid's important too. If the response time is 1 to 4 hours, so let's push it to the worst, makes it get 4 hours. Did you bring your first aid kit? For me, it's always going to be bandages, stuff for heavy cuts, even tourniquets. I have tourniquets, Cat 5 tourniquets. That will definitely stop the bleeding if you have a serious injury. Stuff for burns. So for us, it was more about burns. And believe it or not, I even got sunned and windburned in 60-degree weather where I was wearing a sweatshirt because it was cold. But that sun is pretty hot, and especially when there's no vegetation or canopy to cover that sun.
Right.
We got burned.
Right.
And I was going to say, Charlie, I like your hat. That hat that you have
is perfect.
I actually had a hat like that, and I had to wear it. I said, man, I got to put my big hat on because it's just to keep the sun off your face.
Nice.
And that's something to consider.
And rain.
And rain, right? And these are things that you have to consider when you're prepping, when you're going out into a what-if scenario. But definitely first aid. Definitely had my personal protection on me as well. Check these areas. North Carolina is a gun-friendly state. I know in national parks you're allowed to carry your firearm. I always do. It's just a matter of just having another tool in my toolbox. It's the same reason why I carry a jack in my car. If somebody says, well, why are you carrying a jack in your car? Are you expecting a flat tire? Well, no.
No.
I have that tool in my toolbox, and just in case if we need it. And lo and behold, we had two strangers approach our camp from our backside.
So they came out of nowhere, Kent?
They just showed up. They actually got off it was like a Kubota. They actually rent these Kubota small vehicles on the beach to tour the beach. And they just got off. I guess somebody had drove them somewhere, and they got off, and they just started approaching us, and we didn't see it. So you never know, right? It turned out to be benign. They were actually looking for there's actually dedicated restrooms on the island, and they were looking for them, and they wound up camping about a quarter mile down from us. But you never know, right? So you always want to be prepared. Always have a knife, folding knife. I use that for cooking. I had it in my pocket, use it for opening up stuff, cutting rope, whatever I need. And of course, a flashlight. Nighttime, it gets very dark. But here's the thing: I only brought one lantern, and I have always have my pocket flashlight with me. I never used it. It was so nice to sit out there and look at every star in the Milky Way, and you fantasize. Well, this is what people used to do a long time ago before they had phones, because everybody's buried a phone now. It's nice to sit out there and look at the stars. I think we counted over 1,000 satellites.
Wow.
Satellites were just everywhere, and that was for our entertainment. Power generator. Definitely had a power generator out there. You can bring gas generators; they are allowed at the national park. But I had a solar 350 watt power generator that ran my phone. I actually had to use it to power my GMRS radio, a backup battery, and I have an ARB 50 quart, I think it's 50 quart refrigerator that I would keep all my food in with no ice, which was nice.
Hey, Kent, let me ask you this. Did you
Yeah,
have a little solar panel with you as well?
I had 100 watts. Uh,
That's good.
Yep, and I'll tell you what, I got mine at Harbor Freight. It's the Predator model, both the generator and the 100 watt foldable panel. It was fantastic. I never ran out of juice. I got 90 watts of input charge, and so we never ran out of power. Of course, we were in a great area, right? We didn't have any obstructions from the sun, and so the charge time to keep me at 100% was like an hour, maybe 90 minutes. It was very quick, and so that's also something to consider as well. I would probably be more stressed out if I was consistently running out of power, where my refrigerator was increasing in temperature, because then the food would spoil. That would have been a major, major, major issue. In this case, it was not.
Hmm.
Go back to vehicle real quick. Again, know your vehicle's limitations. I've seen people go out there, believe it or not, in Teslas, not at this island, but at other places on the Outer Banks, get stuck down to the frame. I've seen people go out in Subarus that had all-wheel drive. Don't recommend that. You need a dedicated four-wheel drive vehicle.
Nothing
People
like
get
an FJ Cruiser, my
nothing like
friend.
an FJ or a 1996 Tacoma.
There you go.
They won't get stuck. But you have to know you have to know your vehicle, know the limitations, know what you're getting into. I've seen more people go out there, bury their vehicle down to the frame, and then they can't get out. I have on both my vehicles, they're purpose built, they're dedicated. I have a 13,000 pound winch on the FJ, and I think I have
Yep.
a 8,000 pound on my little Tacoma. So I have a winch for recovery. I have used my winch before in the past to get out of stuck areas. They
Just
definitely,
just one
yeah,
time on my truck.
yep, they definitely work.
Mhm.
And then the key is, if you don't have a winch, that's okay. So if somebody in your group has one, that's always a plus. But what's going to keep you from not getting stuck is having your tires aired down. And there's a sticker. I'll have to see if I can find it. I might have to
What
give you
did you
guys
take
a
your?
sticker.
This is really important. I'm glad you're covering this, because if people are listening to this and they're thinking right now, oh, he's talking about a camping trip. Well, what happens if we get hit with cyber or something like that? Like I said at the beginning of this, that if something actually happens and you put a rabid dog into a corner and they come after you, are you ready at home? So if you're listening to Kent, he's covering where he is away from home, and most people aren't even ready at home with
Yep.
what you're talking about, Kent. And
Yep.
that's why we wanted to tie this stuff back in today and have you talk about this, because people aren't ready at home. They don't know how to have a weapon. They don't have an air pump. They don't have a little power generator. They don't have a little a solar panel. They don't have a radio. I mean, they're just not ready. And a lot of this that you're covering today is going to be taught by the Mountain Patriots Educational Ministries to get people ready, not just for themselves, so that they can help their friends and neighbors. And if we do need to bug out, like you're talking about here, we have both sides covered. Am I correct?
That's a hundred
Yeah,
percent.
and
Yep.
we have bug in also.
We have bug in
Yep.
and bug out.
Yeah, and you got to be prepared on either side, right? So these are things that you should be looking into if you're going to go out or even stay in, like Charlie said. But yeah, getting back to your vehicle, how many people did you know that even keep a toolbox in their vehicle? I mean, I
Absolutely.
do. I
Just a
have in
small toolbox and an air pump, an air hawk.
Yep, just a small toolbox. You should have something very very basic like a set of needle nose pliers, just a set of flat nose screwdrivers, Phillips,
Duct
and
tape.
what kind of vehicle you're driving. Like I drive, yeah, duct tape. Duct tape's actually a miracle, believe it or not.
Woo!
And what kind of vehicle you're driving. I like Toyota. That's what I run with because between both my vehicles, I have over 500,000 miles on them. But my vehicles run on metric. Okay, yours might run on imperial. So depending on what kind of vehicle, bring the correct tools with you. Right? Mine are definitely going to be used on metric because that's what they did. They run on metric. But keeping your tires air down. This is the biggest thing from getting stuck in the sand. We had ours around 18 psi.
Right.
Momentum is the key. Don't stop. Don't drive too fast. You want to have a continuous. What I like to say, I plow forward. I actually look for other folks' tire tracks, and I
Tracks.
get in their tire tracks, and I just continue to keep moving on. That's how you will not get. You don't want to get stuck on the beach. Trust me, it would be a nightmare.
You got to
And then
learn you got to learn the technique,
you,
just like in snow. You
yes,
learn how to
Exactly.
drive in snow and you
yep,
make allowances for it. You do the same with sand.
yep,
So Kent, are you
and
doing a whole? But you are putting again because you've done quite a few PowerPoints, and I'm just going to give you a little plug here. We had Kent come out and talk about the Fourth, the Fifth, and the Sixth Amendment. So Mountain Patriots, we do a
To the
lot of
U.S.
different things with the
Constitution.
ministries. Yeah, and Kent, you're going to put together a whole presentation for us on this and do an hour, a half an hour, 45-minute presentation for
yep.
people, not just to bug out, but to be able to bug in and just be able to think about what they're doing.
I'll even include pictures. So I got some really good pictures. I have them posted on my Flickr page. I'm already
I
Why?
getting
like pictures.
likes and favorites. Pictures are fun. They tell a great story, right?
And you need
Right.
a
And
vacation from your vacation.
you need it, yeah, especially being gone. That was a 6.5 hour drive from the
Right.
house, and it wasn't bad. Just getting past Richmond was probably the worst part. But other than that, it wasn't bad. I'm going to tell you that, and I'll go into more of this on a following one. But we had the people of North Carolina are always friendly. They treat you like one of their own.
That's
The
good.
folks at the ferry service they they let us camp for free in their parking lot because we had a 0700 shuttle, ferry shuttle, and so they wanted us to be on. So they just said, "Hey, you can camp here for free, and you have access to our porch around the facility if you want to sit up and have a couple of cold cocktails." Great people, great fun, and this is what you have to do. You actually have to. It takes some effort and forward leaning into looking into this and see what's going to work and see what's not going to work. And in the end, it's some of the it's an encompass of everything. You get great entertainment out of it. You get great stories. You're with like-minded people that enjoy doing these things, and I definitely enjoy doing these things. And if anybody from the Mountain Patriots want to come out with me on an expedition, we
Hmm.
can. And you learn about your equipment. I test my equipment. I find out there's things that work, there's things that do not work, and the things that don't work on this trip, they'll work on the next trip.
Right.
There's different types of shelter structures that we put up, and this was purpose dedicated for this beach trip. And I would say this: I'm glad I got a check in the book for finally getting this complete. I actually have a little passport stamp book from the National Park Service, and I officially got my stamp for the Cape Lookout Lighthouse, and that kind of sealed the deal. It was a good time. No issues to report. As far as nobody getting sick, nobody getting injured. We just had to make some adjustments from our original plan A to be camping on the beach. And then we had to move that very first night because of wind considerations, and the park rangers were gracious enough to allow us to go into a separate parking lot to overnight camp without any issue. But it's a good trip, and it's a good way to stay plugged in, to start thinking about what you want to do when you're preparing for things, and keeping a great attitude.
Excellent. Well, I will say this, and you know what? Not only did I get bug in and bug out, some great reminders of all of that because we actually practice this a lot, and we're breaking Frederick County down into sectors so that we all know who our neighbors are, and if something happens, we're able to communicate with people. But one of the things that you said at the end, Kent, that was really cool. you got a chance to pull in and stay for the night, and everybody was so nice and everybody was so friendly. This is the America that I grew up in, where you went someplace and you said to somebody, "Hey, how you doing?" You know, you didn't walk into the local Walmart down here and say, "Hey, how you doing?" and get a blank stare from somebody that what it's like, what color is the sky in your world, unfortunately. But it's really nice to be able to hear great stories about, people helping other people out, and being there for somebody and smiling and laughing and being a part of it.
True. Yeah.
So it's guys, as we always say, it's all about the mission.
All about the mission.
We're kind of wrapping up a little bit here. Charlie, do you have any last thoughts on Kent? That was a great story. I so appreciate it. I'm so looking forward to your presentation and your PowerPoint. So
Yeah,
anybody
absolutely.
who has not heard or watched one of Kent's presentations, if you miss it, you're missing it. I'm gonna tell you. He is one of the best teachers I've ever seen. He loves to train people, and it is so obvious, his demeanor, the way he cares about what's going on, and the detail. So when we do that presentation, make sure that you follow Mountain Patriots, like, share this, subscribe, because there's going to be some great content coming out, and Kent's one of them. We
Thank
do
you.
have Dan.
One of the big reasons that I joined this group to begin with
Right.
was to get myself prepared, make myself more valuable to those people around me, have some input and impact on elections and the community, learn more about medical preparedness, and building a community. Because there's one basic thing about being prepared is if you're really prepared and the really bad stuff happens, like the grid goes down from a meteor or enemies, um, you you won't be able to survive by yourself. You need to survive. You need to have a community of people around you, like-minded souls, that are willing to pitch in and help. And that's what Mountain Patriots was for me, and that's why I stepped into that arena. So we have, Danny, you want to tell us about Belford Farms?
Yeah, so there's two things I want to cover. One, we want to make sure that we eat well and we eat healthy. And one of our Mountain Patriots is Belford's Farm Market out on Cedar Grove Road out in Gainsborough. Karen Belford just expanded um her
Farm market.
store. Her store. I just picked up all kinds of beef and hamburger. I mean, we eat well, and you all know RFK Junior's out there doing Maha, Make America Healthy Again. So we want to make sure that we give a plug for the people that are out there actually making sure that we're taking care of each other. And Karen Belford is absolutely fantastic. Her son Kemper is the one that put together Kemper Cares for the North Carolina trip to make sure that we got all of those supplies down there. So, folks, if you get a chance, um, and you're around the Winchester area, make sure you stop out and see Karen Belford. She's open on Fridays and Saturdays, usually from 9 o'clock until around 2:30, 3 o'clock. She'll do all kinds of special things for you. So I wanted to give a great plug out there to Karen Belford. And the last one I want to do is our buddy Rick. We'll call him Samuel KRYDER. Okay,
Yes,
his pen
yes.
name. We were talking a lot about being prepared. And one of the things that every one of our Mountain Patriots has, not only from the radios from Rick, but is a book called The Thinking Prepper. And you can find The Thinking Prepper at the thinkingprepper.com website. There's a lot of information there. You can find it on the Wake Up Winchester website as well. One of the most important things that we know is have faith and family, but we also have to make sure that our brain is in gear. Um, you don't want to, you want to be prepared mentally. And one of the things, the first thing that Rick covers in the book is mental preparedness. So we just wanted to give out a shout out to some of the groups that are out there. Next week, we're going to have Dan Best on here from the Republican Outreach to tell you how to get involved in the community. And
And what's going on?
and what's going on. And the last thing I will say, and Charlie, I'm going to have you take us out with a prayer in a second, but
Yes.
the last thing I want to share with people is we're very, very serious about this Christian ministry all over here in the state of Virginia. Um, we want to make sure that we give good information at all times. And on June 28th, one of the most important things, as we started at the beginning, was the civics part of this. We're going to have a basics kind of civics 101. You'll be able to hear your delegates. You'll be able to hear your 6th district chair. You'll be able to hear the county attorney, the sheriff, talk about what their positions are and what they actually do. Most people don't realize what the elected officials that they vote for actually do. So come out to the wakeupwinchester.com website. Come out to Wake Up Winchester Health and Freedom Conference on June 28th. It is going to be an absolute ball. It's not expensive. We're actually going to feed you. We could really use some donations to help keep this thing going, because we take the money, most of the money that we get, and it goes back to the community. So I will share this real quick. We were able to get out almost 6,000 pounds of deer meat to people this winter. So there's a lot of different things that we do. So come out to the Wake Up Winchester Health and Freedom Conference. Kent, do you have anything that you want to add to the end of this?
No, sir. Good to be back home, and
Good to see you, man.
yeah, you guys as well. And looking forward to Monday. I'm looking forward to spring coming, so I can get to work on my grass and just doing stuff around the house.
Local honey for those allergies, my friend.
That's right.
And I would say, Dana, what you always say: keep your head on a swivel, keep your powder dry, and always an ABC.
Always be carrying.
Yep.
Yep.
Now, folks, we want to thank you for sticking with us. If you stuck with us this long, we are Mountain Patriots Educational Ministries. We know who rules the universe, and all praise and honor and glory go to our Heavenly Father. And I'm going to ask Charlie, who actually put together a prayer for the Mountain Patriots. We have all of our ministries. Go online and check us out. But I'm going to ask Charlie today to take us out with our Mountain Patriots prayer, please.
Yes, sir. Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this beautiful world and the country that you have given us, and the patriots who are willing to care for it. We thank you for inspiring our founders to create this beautiful republic. And please help us keep it as the aspiring place to be. Please give us the wisdom to do the right thing, the common sense to judge wisely, the energy to never give up, and your unending grace in which we take comfort. In your name we pray. Amen.
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 Folks, I want to thank everybody for watching today. Charlie and Kent are always, we're like the three. We're not the five, we're the three. Just remember to do your own research. Don't take our opinion for it. Go look up everything that we said, and I think you're going to find out a lot of it to be true. Until the next time, it's all about the mission. Thank you for watching Mountain Patriots Educational Ministries. God bless you, and have a great day.
God bless.
See you guys.